welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking with you about 3 of my easiest, most favorite things that I preserved this year so that hopefully I can remember the things I loved preserving this year, and also maybe it will inspire you as you are heading into this next season to do a little bit of preserving in a way that isn't absolutely draining and exhausting, because preserving is exhausting, and in a way that's easy and simple to understand. These methods and what I have preserved right here is so simple, it is actually mind-blowing to me. I will never not preserve these items because it's just so easy. The ingredients are so minimal. I know it's so good for me and my husband to eat versus store-bought versions of this, and I just love it. It just tastes amazing. And I also wanted to tell you about one of my favorite books in the whole wide world. We will talk about this at the end of the video. Okay, so first things first, one of my favorite things that I have preserved this year is none other than my tomatoes. Now, I do have to say, looking at this in my fridge downstairs just brings me so much joy every time I go open up the the fridge door, because it's so bright, it's so beautiful, and it just makes me so happy to have this. I have so many containers full of tomatoes like this, and I learned this actually from the Elliott Homestead. And these are basically just oil-packed tomatoes. So I don't know if you've ever tried to grow your own tomatoes. You are in the middle of the season and you are just overflowing with tomatoes, don't know what to do. They go bad so quickly, you're freaking out, you give them away to people, and then at the end of the season, you're kind of like, man, why did I give away all of those tomatoes? I really wanted to have preserved tomatoes. But canning tomato sauce or canning any tomato products is labor intensive. To water bath can anything, it's wonderful because it's so great to have them on the shelf, but it just takes a lot of time and energy. So this is a way to preserve tomatoes that is so simple and so easy. It's recommended that you do this with smaller tomatoes like cherry tomatoes, or some I'm trying not to say as much, but I keep saying it, with saucing tomatoes. So if you have tomatoes that are just a little bit less watery, a little bit less juicy, it's going to work better. But I grew Sun Gold tomatoes this year, and this has a little bit of Roma tomato in it. But essentially all you do, I want you to listen to how easy this is. All you do is take your tomatoes, wash them off. You're going to put them in a roasting pan, cover them with salt and herbs and anything else, maybe some garlic. Roast them in the oven for like 15-20 minutes until they kind of like pop and the juices come out. And then you take all of the tomato pieces and you shove it into a jar and you really pack it down as best as you can. And you put some herbs in there, some garlic in there if you want to, and you just pour olive oil over the top. And then you put it in your fridge, and it literally lasts the whole entire year. You just have to make sure that you don't get bits of tomato above the olive oil, because then that will mold and go bad. So you just want to keep everything submerged under the olive oil. But even if I do have something that comes up and molds on the top, I'll just scoop it off and still eat the tomatoes. So this is a wonderful way to preserve tomatoes, a lot of tomatoes, and you can use it in pasta sauce, you can use it in soups. You can literally use this for anything. You could spread it onto cheese, on a piece of toast, like on ricotta or something like that. It's so good. You will not regret this. So you could always buy tomatoes from a local farmer. You can do this in the summertime, and then it literally tastes like fresh tomatoes. It's so good. It's not like exactly the same as fresh tomatoes, but if you're comparing this to a store-bought, dried tomato or tomato paste or tomato sauce, it doesn't even compare. This is spectacular. So, would recommend that. And then number 2, one of my favorite things this year that I discovered I just love so much. Well, I knew I loved pickles, but I discovered a new way of making them that I love. These are my refrigerator pickles. And they are hands down my favorite pickle I have ever made. I will never, ever, ever can pickles ever again, because I hate the way canned pickles turn out. They are never as crunchy as I want them to be, and also I don't like using the additives in there. Like, I don't like using the pickling, there's like something you can add to your pickles to make them crunchier, but I like things as natural as possible. So this is my number one choice, and I got this recipe actually from the book that I'm going to tell you a little bit about in a minute. But essentially, I cut up my cucumber slices nice and thick. I put some dill, peppercorn, you can do onion, garlic, whatever else you want in here, and then I make a mixture of vinegar and honey and water, and I boil that on the stove, pour it into this jar, put the cap on really tight, let it sit and completely cool down, and then I put it in my refrigerator for like 9 months, and they stay crunchy, they stay delicious. It's so easy. It's so easy, and I will never do pickles another way again, except for fermented pickles are really good, but those are easy as well. But I think for me, this is like most tasting like a traditional pickle while keeping the ingredients minimal and having everything really fresh and delicious. So you will die when you try these. You are going to freak out because they're just so crunchy and so good. I honestly, as soon as I'm done this video, I'm going to eat some. But love those. And I actually just make these for myself because my husband doesn't even like pickles. So I love them that much that I just make a bunch of them for myself. And then number 3, easiest thing to make that I preserved this year is one of my favorite things that I'm so happy to have is bone broth. And I made a bunch of bone broth this year, and I just want you to know that it is one of the most nutritious things that you can have stocked in your pantry, in your kitchen, and it is one of the easiest things ever to make. I'm gonna put it down because it's cold. But all you do is you get bones, and this can be we used a lot from a deer that we harvested this year, the 2 deers that we harvested, but also I have a friend who has a farm. My sister-in-law is friends with her too, and she gave me some of the beef bones that they have. You can call a butcher. You can get free bones from butchers. You can buy bones if you want to. Literally, all you're going to do is take your crock pot. You're going to put a bunch of bones in there. You're going to cover it with cold water, and you're just going to let it sit on low 1 to 2 days. I did mine for 2 days. I feel like it was a little bit much. But if you let it slow cook, it extracts a lot of the nutrients out of the bones, and it makes it that really thick, jello-y bone broth, which is super nutritious for you. And it is one of my favorite things to have because it's so good for you. It has protein and electrolytes. It's just the best. And it's the easiest thing ever. I will never buy bone broth from the store ever again because something this size of this quality bone broth is like $11 at our grocery store. I didn't even spend any money on our bone broth, and I have a whole freezer full of it. And then I just let it cool down. Or no, I pour it into the jars while it's hot. Then I let the jars cool down, I put the caps on, and I just put it in the freezer. Just need to make sure that you have plenty of headspace in it so that it doesn't crack the jar. But I love having this. So easy. I will do it every single year. And so I learned a lot of preserving methods from this book. My sister-in-law had let me borrow hers, and I ended up buying my own, but it's called Preserving Food Without Freezing or Canning. I'm a huge lover of freezing things, honestly, because of convenience, but this book teaches you how to ferment, how to dry things. I even made an herbed olive oil this year that was amazing and so easy, that just sat out in the sun to soak up the herbs, and then you strain it. I've made sauerkraut from this. There's jellies and jams, and it's all about keeping the food as much in its natural state as possible so that you can get all of the health benefits from it. So I would highly recommend this book. This book, like, I've just read this book through so many times. It's a joy to read, and it has some of my absolute favorite recipes in here. I've also made their coleslaw, fermented coleslaw, from this book. I've made, trying to think of some other of my favorites. Oh, salt preserved green beans, salt preserved. Like, I love salt preserving things, and they do a really good job of explaining things in here. Now, I will say some of these methods of preserving aren't necessarily approved by, U.S. standards of preserving food, so you need to decide what you're comfortable with. But I will say that people have been doing this stuff forever, so if you can make sure that you read through this, learn a little bit about it, and you're comfortable with it, then I would say go for it. Me and my husband are comfortable with it. We've never gotten ill from anything, and I do feel like it's benefited our health immensely. So I wanted to share these things with you in hopes that it can inspire you, and so that you just can see that preserving doesn't have to be, it's tiring, but it doesn't have to be something that you have to go all out at. You can just do a couple things and feel really good about it and benefit from it and enjoy it, and it is such a fun process to do. I will also link this book below in case you want to get it and read it. And yeah, I would love to hear from you, what you canned or what you preserved or what you fermented this year. What was your favorite thing that you preserved? Or maybe the easiest thing you've preserved. I would love to hear that because I'm always looking for easy ways to preserve things. So anyways, this was so fun, and I will see you next week for another video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you can, and I will talk to you soon. So I was just done filming that video, and I came over to start working on my computer, and I ate a pickle. I just need someone else to hear the beauty of these pickles. Okay. I don't know if this is weird to do. You ready? They're so crunchy, and they're like sweet and sour. They're so good. These have been preserved for I think I preserved them in July or August or something. July, August, September, October. Yeah, 5 months. That's crazy.